Hey, what is up people, this is Johnny and welcome to a new Wi-Fi battle on my channel, and I would like to thank my friend Pokermation for helping me capture this battle. So my opponent's name is PKMNstrider and he takes out his Sawbok while I take out my Ferrothorn. And my Ferrothorn is a pretty good Pokemon because it has a ability that iron bars that hurts my opponent when it attacks me. So he decides to use Jump Kick, which is going to do a pretty fair damage, probably half of my health. But Iron Bars also gave that Pokemon damage as well as my item Rocky Helmet. So I decided to use Gyro Ball because I know Gyro Ball is actually going to do some pretty good damage into his Pokemon, and it left it at the red health, which is pretty amazing. So he withdraws his Pokemon and takes out his Delphox, and I decided to withdraw my Pokemon as well because it's not beneficial for me to keep that Pokemon out, because if he uses a flame ability move, it will take out my Ferrothorn. So I take out Sableye, which is pretty good Pokemon, and I decide to Mega Evolve my Sableye. And now the move that I'm going to be using with Sableye is Foul Play. That's the only move that I have that I think that's going to do more damage to Delphox, and he decides to use Light Screen, so Light Screen can protect his Pokemon with a special defense. So I decide to use Foul Play, and it does a pretty good effect. It's actually pretty effective. So he decides to use Fire Blast, which is going to damage my Pokemon pretty well. And I use Foul Play again to take out his first Pokemon, and that's how his first Pokemon got eliminated. So Delphox faints, and then he probably will take out his next Pokemon, which is Greninja. Now Greninja actually gave me a hard time, and I think I made the mistake of not attacking his Greninja with my Sableye, which is the thing that I should have done first instead of using Recover. Because my Sableye has the Recover move, and I don't like to go down completely, so I like to have my Sableye have its health, because it does restore a bunch of health while my opponent keeps using this Hydro Pump at my Pokemon. And it is doing pretty good damage, but I keep using Recover because I don't want my Sableye to go completely down. So I keep using it, and the light screen actually wore off. And this was the time when I could start to use my moves that I want to use, but I don't remember why. It's because my Pokemon kept flinching after a while from his attacks. His Hydro Pump kept making my Pokemon flinch, and then finally that Hydro Pump gave it a critical hit and it took out my Sableye. So Sableye can only take out one Pokemon. So I decided to take out my Ferrothorn again because Ferrothorn is a pretty amazing Pokemon. But then he decides to withdraw his Greninja because he knows Ferrothorn is actually going to do a damage. But he also predicted my next move, that I was probably going to use Leech Seed. So that's probably a great idea that he did that, because then his Greninja wouldn't last throughout that battle if he wouldn't have switched out. So I decided to use Gyro Ball, which does a pretty good damage on this Venusaur. But Venusaur's moves aren't going to hurt me a lot because they're grass and rock, and that really doesn't hurt my Pokemon a lot. And I use Gyro Ball again, and this Gyro Ball will actually take out his Venusaur. Now the next Pokemon I believe he takes out is back to the first Pokemon that he decided to use, his Sawbok, which is pretty good that he took it out, because I mean he's gonna eliminate that Pokemon and then he's gonna eliminate mine, so then both of them get eliminated. But since I already had his Pokemon pretty hurt and he used Jump Kick again, his Pokemon's going down. But he did get to take mine, so he took it out, but it did a pretty well thing throughout the battle. Now he decides to take out his Porygon Z, and for me, I actually take out my Bisharp because Bisharp is a pretty strong Pokemon. And I know I made kind of like a mistake of using the Sword Dance, but I think it actually did help me with Porygon Z. And he decides to use Discharge, which does give a big damage to my health, pretty much all of it. And this was a risky move because I did not know if my Pokemon had a better speed, but luckily my Bisharp has a better speed, and I decided to use Sucker Punch after that Sword Dance, and it took out Porygon Z completely. So Porygon Z will not be a problem later on. And then he decides to take out his Greninja, and this is where I make a big mistake. He uses Water Shrunken, and then I start using Sucker Punch again, and I think I used it for twice because I thought it failed for some reason. But no, Sucker Punch just fails. So I learn new stuff every day, and Sucker Punch just keeps failing. He keeps using his Water Shrunken attack, which is actually going to eliminate my Pokemon because of my dumb mistake that I shouldn't have done. That was the biggest mistake I did, and hopefully I don't do it again. And I used Sucker Punch again, which I could have used my other Brick Break attack. And yeah, that was pretty much Aura for that Pokemon. But I withdrew it so I could bring out my Swampert. And my Swampert, don't believe it or not, it's actually going to get pretty damaged by this Greninja, and this is where I'm starting to get a little bit hopeless. But Swampert, it's always resistive to moves, so that's why it has a really good resistance to move. It will take anything. It'll take Earthquakes, Dragon Plus, except for Grass, of course. And I decided to use Earthquake because I know that it's going to do the most damage to the Greninja. And that was a pretty good damage. But he uses Hydro Pump again, and this Hydro Pump was critical. It just took out my Swampert. I don't even know how it did that, but it was just pretty critical. So I decided to take out my Bisharp again, but I don't think my Bisharp is going to do anything because Greninja now has the speed, and I don't have the speed anymore because of my failure to hit him with another attack before. Oh well, sometimes things are meant to be. So this is where I decide to take out my Hydro Region, and it's a pretty cool Pokemon, and he's going to use Hydro Pump, so it's not going to do that much damage. If he used Ice Beam, it would have been over. So I decide to use Dragon Pulse because Dragon Pulse is actually going to give it a pretty good attack, and it'll actually eliminate my opponent. Then he takes out his Slowbro, and this is his last Pokemon, I believe. Now Slowbro does take out my Hydro Region, I believe, but I don't know. He uses his Mega Evolution, and I know that Pokemon has a pretty big defense when it comes to battling. So he takes out his Slowbro, which is shiny. It looks amazing. Look at it. And I use my Dark Pulse, which does a lot of damage to Slowbro, but fortunately Slowbro of course has an Ice Beam and takes out my Hydro Region. Now I am left down to one Pokemon, and this Pokemon is Tyranitar, the Pokemon that will save it all. It will bring a Sandstorm, and it has a dark move that can actually take out Slowbro, which I'm going to use is actually Crunch, and this Crunch move will actually destroy my opponent, and that's how Slowbro goes down. And that was his last Pokemon, so it was a pretty fair battle. He actually had some pretty strong Pokemon, and it almost defeated me, and yeah. Thanks for watching my Wi-Fi battle, and I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment in the comment section with your friend code and in-game name if you want to battle me next. Also, if I haven't been able to upload your battle, it's simply because I do not have a capture card. I'm actually getting this capture footage from my friend PKMNstrider, and he's the one that helps me out capturing this footage. I might get a capture card in the near future, and hopefully I do. Well, anyways, just leave your comment and you might actually be featured in the next battle.